Bismuth is the best myth, at least when looking at it in its refined, rainbowy version. Its ore, not so much, but we won't hold it against it, the poor thing. However, as cool as bismuth looks, it serves more purposes than just a glittery decoration to put on your shelf or chuck at an intruder, which honestly would probably be a good self-defense weapon if you had to. I'm not saying like the shooty boy is not the best, but bismuth weighs this much per square inch, so I mean, if you get hit with this, you could probably hurt someone or kill them. However, if you do end up killing someone with a chunk of bismuth, please don't tell anyone that I told you to do it, because I didn't. I'm just saying if you had to. For starters, bismuth is great build inspiration. Wait, no, that's for later. Before I get to the finished project, who would I be if I didn't shed some light on this element? For one, it is bisexual. Do not believe me? Look at this. See this? Irrefutable proof. It shows it right here. Bisexual. Bismuth has a few other interesting characteristics that I should point out. For one, compared to its neighbors on the periodic table, it's really not that toxic. For example, you got lead, and I'm pretty sure everyone's aware of lead poisoning by now, and if not, please don't eat paint. Just trust me on that. I don't need to explain it. Next is that bismuth has a interesting property that it shares with water, and that being that elemental bismuth is denser when it is a liquid. For most minerals and elements, that is not the case. That is also the trait that gives water the ability to have ice float on top of it rather than sink. After that, one of bismuth's main uses in the market is, surprisingly enough, to prevent you from throwing up. Pepto-Bismol's main ingredient is a bismuth compound, which I think is funny because Pepto-Bismol looks like what you'd expect to get if you took bismuth and chucked it into a blender. After that, it can be used in anything from pharmaceuticals to fire extinguishers. As I said earlier, the bright rainbow bismuth we often see isn't accurate. These are actually what bismuth crystals looks like, and most of these are artificially grown, as I'm sure you've seen from probably a TikTok video. Bismuth in nature looks more like this. It's gray, metal, shiny, makes sense because it's a heavy metal. Occasionally it has a pink sheen, but I have yet to find any picture proof of this, so not exactly the same vibes as these. However, the reason that bismuth looks so cool when you melt it and let it cool is thanks to something called a crystal habit. A crystal habit is the way that a mineral, when growing, expresses itself, or the shape that it grows into. This video is part 1 of a series I'm doing of builds based on crystal habits, because if you take a look at these things, they're pretty interesting, to say the least. And their weird geometry makes them great build inspiration, hence this video. Bismuth happens to have something called a hopper habit. And yes, like these things, that's not a joke, that's what it's named after. The individual crystals in this mass have something like an inverted, hollow pyramid shape. That's because the outside of the shape grows quicker than the insides, leading to the edges to grow up and out at a faster rate than the interior, making a little square bowl. Speaking of the interior, let's move on to the build because designing the interior was a pain. First, the big reveal. Ta-da! As much as I wanted to make it identical to bismuth, I realized that it had to be functional enough to be lived in. After all, this was just an inspiration. I wasn't trying to make bismuth one for one. So I kept the 3D bismuth design isolated to the top of the roof. I made each floor offset from each other and tried to make the angles as random as possible. And after that, I made each deck have a flooring that mimicked bismuth's colorful and angular swirls. I chose white to frame it since there's a lot going on here in terms of colors, so it helped each layer stand out from the next. After some quick landscaping and a nice waterfall I added for the hell of it, the outside was done. However, the price to pay for the outside looking like that was that the inside was wrecked. Like, it looked bad. It was bad. It took a bit of work to even figure out where I wanted to put the walls, and then after that, Chat and I decided that if bismuth was an interior design style, it would be maximalism. I sort of pulled that off. I'm not an interior designer, as you can tell, but I added as much as I could without making it look too crimped. I mean, it has to be a little crimped. That's sort of like it comes with maximalism. They're together. Something I did like was that I made the ceiling slightly taller than I normally would. That way, I could add slabs that covered the bright colors from the areas that were under the deck, and it also created the effect of slab lights, which I thought was very neat. After that, I did a quick look around, did some last-minute finishing touches, and it was done. I rate this build 8.75 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts on it, what I could have changed, what I did good at, if you just hate the colors and want to throw up. If you want to throw up, you should take Pepto-Bismol. If you're interested in seeing more content like this, please consider subscribing. I also have a Twitch channel, so if you're interested in live streams, I would recommend you follow me there. I don't have affiliate yet, so you can't sub. I'm not telling you to sub. Save your money. Go sub to your favorite big boy streamer. And after that, thank you for watching. Goodbye.